He woke up choking. Not on air, on light. It burned through his eyes and throat and skin. Not painful, but wrong. Every nerve in his body screamed, not in agony, but in alien confusion. His arms jerked, too long. His legs bent at angles he didn't remember owning. He rolled onto his side and vomited a stream of bioluminescent gel onto the moss-like floor beneath him. Then silence. The room, if it could be called that, shimmered around him. Curved walls pulsed with soft cyan light, covered in patterns that shifted when he breathed. The air tasted like metal and ozone. It smelled like rain on glass. He tried to speak. The sound that came out wasn't human. It was a series of sharp clicks and low harmonic pulses, like someone tuning a crystal radio with their throat. He froze. Then he looked down. These were not his hands. His skin, no, not skin, glistened under the ambient glow. It was smooth, semi-translucent, etched with fractal markings that pulsed with his heartbeat. His fingers ended in tapered prongs. He flexed them. They responded. He reached up, hesitantly, and touched his face. No nose, no hair, no jawline. Just a mask of soft chitin and two large eyes. He could feel them, wider than any human's, catching light from angles he couldn't understand. Panic rose. And with it, a voice. Not external, not robotic. Internal. Familiar. Welcome to prototype shell theta 9. Neural sync, 87%. He recognized the voice. His own. Memorized and digitized. The same voice that narrated reports in the lab back on Mars, except Mars was 4 billion kilometers away. He screamed, but it came out as a shriek of ultrasonic pulses. His name, at least it had been, was Dr. Adrian Vale. Cognitive biologist, exo-interface specialist, consultant on the Polaris Mind Projection Initiative, a program designed to solve the oldest problem in space travel: distance. Ships could only go so fast, signals only so far. But consciousness, it could be encoded, transmitted, unfolded into quantum patterns, and cast across the dark like seeds. Adrian had volunteered for the first test. His body remained in a cryotube orbiting Neptune. His mind, however, had been fired across the void toward Gliese 7K, a planet orbiting a dying white dwarf on the edge of known space, a planet where, according to pre-scan data, non-human sentience had evolved. But the recipient, that was the gamble. The shell had been designed using fragments of genetic mapping and biomaterial recovered by drones. It wasn't human, not even close. But it was compatible, in theory, with human consciousness. He had known the risks, but nothing could have prepared him for this. He spent the first day learning how to walk. The joints bent wrong. The balance was off. His feet, or whatever passed for them, had small, retractable hooks that kept catching on the soft ridges of the floor. His field of vision spanned almost 270 degrees, which made turning his head disorienting. But the worst part was the silence. No data uplink, no comms, no link to the project team. He was alone. In a body not his own. On a planet no one had ever stood on. And someone, or something, had placed him here. Because the room wasn't a lab. It was a chamber. A cradle. He hadn't booted up inside a machine. He had been born. The second day the walls opened. No sound. No alarm, just a slow widening of the room, revealing a path of soft, glowing moss that stretched into the dark beyond. He hesitated, then stepped forward. The air outside was thicker, warmer. Gravity felt low, but not weightless. He could move now without stumbling, though it still felt like puppeteering someone else's body. The sky overhead was indigo, studded with 3 suns, one bright, one faint, and one a pulsing red dwarf low on the horizon. Floating stones drifted overhead, bound by magnetic currents. Plant life swayed in unseen rhythms, responding to his presence. He wasn't alone. Shapes moved in the distance. Tall, quadrupedal figures with glass-like torsos and spiraling limbs. Some had wings, some had translucent crests. They didn't walk, they flowed. And when they saw him, they stopped. One approached. It wasn't threatening. It was beautiful. Tall, graceful. Its body shimmered with soft purple light. Where a human would have a face, it had a shifting surface, constantly reconfiguring, as if made of liquid mirrors. It tilted its head, then emitted a low, layered tone that vibrated in Adrian's chest. And he understood it. Not in words, in intent. "You are incomplete." He tried to reply. The alien sound of his voice quivered in the air. He shaped it as best he could. "I'm new." The figure's crest flickered. Then it turned and began to walk away. Slowly, deliberately, as if inviting him to follow. So he did, and the farther he walked, the less human he felt. But the more alive. The city was alive. Not metaphorically, literally. The structures breathed. Some exhaled clouds of pollen-like spores that shimmered in the air. Others pulsed with light from within, like giant translucent organs. There were no straight lines, no buildings. Everything curved, flowed, folded into itself like a coral reef made of memory. Adrian followed the being, the one who had spoken to him. They didn't use names, not in any form he could replicate. They communicated through resonance, vibration, proximity. But he called her Lyra, not because she told him to, but because the pattern of her presence felt melodic, steady, and sharp, like a plucked string. She brought him to a chamber near the base of a towering spiral. It looked like a temple, or maybe a nursery. The walls inside were covered in fluid symbols that changed based on where he stood. When he moved, they reacted, not to his body, but to his thoughts. Lyra placed one hand, if it was a hand, against the wall. The symbols shifted. Adrian understood, not intellectually, viscerally. They were trying to teach him, but not their language, their perception. Lyra wasn't just a guide. She was a filter. Without her presence nearby, the world was overwhelming. Sounds came from every direction, not just ambient noise, but sensory pulses, data, emotional radiation. He began to realize the truth. These creatures didn't think in sequence. They thought in layers. Memory, emotion, logic, all at once, woven together. The only way to speak with them was to become like them. And slowly, he was. His dreams changed first. No longer human dreams of cities and labs and frozen moons. Now he saw spirals of time. Events before they happened. Fragments of other lives. Alien, complex, emotional. Sometimes he woke up with tears streaming down his face, and he didn't know whose grief it was. Lyra never spoke in words, but she was always near. Always watching, always listening. When she touched his arm, a brief flicker of contact, he felt something snap into place inside his mind. And for the first time, he didn't just understand her. He felt her, not as a presence, as a person. The moment he realized he loved her, it terrified him, because he knew it was real. He hadn't spoken to another human being in over 30 cycles. The uplink hadn't reconnected. There was no signal, no ping, nothing. He was cut off. And maybe that was intentional. Maybe they never planned to bring him back. Maybe he was always meant to stay. When he tried to remember his old life, Earth, Mars, Neptune Station, the memories felt flat, like echoes in a sealed room. But Lyra? She was vibrant, immediate, warm, and she had chosen him, not as a curiosity, but as something more. He didn't know what that meant. Not yet, but he was ready to find out. He was not alone, not entirely. Somewhere in the city, deeper beneath the shifting towers and luminous roofs, someone was watching him, not with curiosity, Not with welcome, with suspicion. The first sign came in the form of absence. Lyra stopped appearing. She didn't explain. She didn't retreat. She just vanished from his awareness. Her absence was louder than her presence had ever been. For days, Adrian wandered the chambers without purpose, without connection. The living structures no longer responded to his thoughts. The patterns ignored him. The silence was deliberate. Then came the pulse. Not physical, not audible. A summons. It rippled through the walls, through the trees, through the light itself. A frequency that demanded attention. His body, the alien shell he inhabited, responded involuntarily, legs moving before the thought formed. He followed it deep into the ground. The descent was slow, guided by lights that pulsed in uneven rhythm. Like a heartbeat missing every third beat, the space narrowed, the temperature dropped, the colors faded, until finally he stood before them. The others, not like Lyra. Older, taller, heavier. Their bodies bore more angles, more armor, more permanence. Their eyes, if they were eyes, did not glow with empathy. They shimmered like cold metal under dead stars. They surrounded him. Then one stepped forward. Its voice bypassed his mind entirely, vibrating inside his ribs. "You are not one of us." He wanted to respond, but he couldn't form sound. The figure circled him slowly. "You are code, cast into a stolen body, a ghost in borrowed skin." Adrian trembled. "Your presence fractures the sequence." Then another spoke. "Lyra bends the weave for you. She forgets the cost." He finally forced words out. "I didn't ask for this." They didn't reply immediately. Then the first one turned fully toward him. "Yet you stayed." He felt shame bloom in his chest, but not regret. Never regret. "I love her," he said quietly. The room vibrated, not with laughter, with something deeper. Anger. Fear. A third voice cut through. "Then you must choose." Images flooded his mind. Two paths. One. Return. Abandon the shell. Sever the link. Wake up human, alone, back on Neptune orbit. 2. Remain. Fully integrate. Let the last fragment of Adrian Vale dissolve. There was no third option. He stood in silence. And the world waited. He climbed back toward the surface, not because they told him to. Because he needed to see her. The world around him felt dimmer. The sky less alive. The resonance, thinner. Every color felt off by a shade. Every thought echoed twice. Lyra was waiting in the place where they'd first truly spoken. By the glowing pond beneath the woven canopy. She stood still, her form dimmer, slower in its movements. He didn't speak at first. She did. "I knew they would call you." He nodded. "They say I don't belong." Lyra tilted her head slightly. "They're not wrong." He stepped closer. "But does that mean I should leave?" She looked at him, fully, deeply. For a moment, time stretched. The air vibrated with quiet ache. "If you stay," she said, "you will no longer be what you were. I already feel that slipping." "You don't understand." Her voice rippled with layered harmonics. "They won't allow a bridge. Not one built from feeling." "I'm not here to build anything," he said. "I just want to live. With you." She moved toward him. Her hands, delicate, radiant, familiar, rested gently on his chest. "I want that too." He closed his eyes. "Then I've already chosen." The transition began that night. Not initiated by machine. By will. He walked to the spiral, the living structure at the city's core. Its shape recognized him. Not as foreign code. As pattern. As intention. The chamber opened, and he stepped in. Lyra followed. Inside, memory unfolded like fabric. His old life played across walls of shifting light. Childhood, Earth, training, the launch. His human face flickered in and out of focus. His voice echoed strangely, thin, limited, flat. And then came the overwrite. Not violent, not even painful, just a soft forgetting. The shell accepted him. Fully. No more dissonance. No more hesitation. His name fell away. But what remained was deeper, realer. She held his hand through it all. And when he stepped out of the chamber, he wasn't Adrian Vale in a body. He was alive, present, entire, and hers. The stars felt closer now, not physically, in meaning. He could read them like language, feel their memory, their gravity, the songs they left behind in the folds of time. The world itself pulsed differently. He moved not through space, but with it. And Lyra was no longer separate. Their minds had not fused. Their thoughts remained distinct, but their resonance was now in harmony. They walked together, not as human and alien, not as outsider and native, but as one pattern, two voices. The city accepted him. Slowly, not all at once. There were still watchers, still suspicion, but the spiral had recognized his choice. And that mattered. One evening, beneath the black tree that never bloomed, Lyra spoke. "They'll try to reach you again." He nodded. "I feel it." The signal had returned, a distant pulse, encoded in human format. It carried fragments of a message, words fractured by light years. Subject Adrian Vale, signal confirmed, pulse integrity degraded, awaiting response. They had found him. Or rather, they had finally caught up. She looked at him. "What will you do?" He was quiet for a long time. Then, respond. She didn't stop him. In the center of the city, the tower that housed the quantum aperture bloomed open. The machines there were ancient, older than humanity. They resonated with the structure of minds, not voices, thought, shaped into signal. He stepped forward, closed his eyes, and remembered who he had been, just long enough to say goodbye. Transmission received on Earth Orbit Station EOS 12. Fragmented, encrypted, later reconstructed by AI Linguistics Core. To the team, if you're hearing this, the experiment succeeded. I'm alive, but I'm not yours anymore. You sent me into the dark to find something. I found someone. I was human. I was Adrian Vale. Now I am something else. Not less. Maybe more. Don't come for me. Not because you can't. Because you shouldn't. She showed me a world that remembers. And I chose to stay remembered. Transmission end. On Earth, the program was quietly terminated. Official cause: subject loss due to neural desync. No further shells were launched. The initiative was buried in classified archives, marked anomalous and unstable. But sometimes, in the deep observatories that scan background radiation beyond the helix arm, faint harmonics can be heard. Not noise, not stars, a pattern. Two voices, calling, gently, to one another across eternity.